What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to another watch list video. There will be no video tomorrow night, right? Because the markets close on Friday. So I hope all of you enjoy your weekend and have a great 4th of July. I will say from scanning, it's a little harder for me to find some actionable setups. Not as many clean opportunities as I'd like from my scans. Looks like the best positioning obviously would be from Friday, Monday, and maybe a few on Tuesday. But for a majority, Monday I think was one of the best days to buy a lot of these names. So tomorrow for me kind of feels like a do less kind of day. Maybe just not do anything and just enjoy the weekend. So that will be interesting to see what happens. But overall, breath today, still fine. If I can pull up the tracker here, right, you can see over the past few sessions the breadth started to get a little bit on the stocks down 4% plus, right? You had a big day today of a lot of stocks that were down, especially your semis, right? And if you look at Pradeep's, right, you got 83 on Monday, 157 on Tuesday, and 214 today. So it's growing as far as the stocks that are down, but you still got a lot of stocks up today, right? 276 on Market Pulse and 380 on Pradeep's monitor. So, the breast still looks fine, right? You get a gap down here um, in your Kospi, which held the 50-day in a super nice way. This thing bounced back pretty quickly in a big way, so that will be super interesting. But I think the NQ and ES kind of same thing, right? Where you kind of gap down into or not gap down, but pull into the 1020, hold, and now we're getting a nice little bouncing after hours. Still building a big base. ES, same thing, right? Looks fine, right? These look awesome, right? I think they look completely fine, right? You look at the QQQ, not the best day today, but it is an inside day, so can't hate on it too much, right? I will say QQQ kind of lagged the SPY a little bit today. The SPY was barely green, but the QQQ is closing at lows. The SPY pretty much right at the open, right? The dollar still, to me, looks like it's possibly flagging. It's a little red in the after hours, but doesn't look too bad. So interesting day though overall, right? There was a lot of semiconductors and things like that down. But I will say your Magnificent Seven, it's super nice to see that get back above the 200 day, right? You had a meta gap up on news, on that cloud news, which hurt NBIS. This thing gapped down, tried to bounce, and didn't do much. So pretty nasty close for this one, but I put it on the list because it's been a big leader. It still has a chance to build a super nice higher low, either at the 50 day or at the support gap. So those are two spots I'll definitely be watching, and they're pretty much both lining up. So we'll see how this thing opens up tomorrow. But if we're just doing nothing tomorrow and just chopping around, not much for me to do there. But a flush down to the support gap, I'll watch for a spot. And same thing with the 50 day. That's pretty much what I'm feeling. I look at the weekly chart and I don't think it's not too bad yet. So we'll see. But today definitely was a super ugly day. You had a nice day yesterday, and to gap down that much and then still close on the lows, definitely not my favorite. So, bringing up the mags names, right? You got Tesla's back above the 200 day. I don't see a setup here, right? I wouldn't be buying this thing 4 days up in a row, but it looks fine, right? Just needed to actually build out now above that 200 day, right? Apple reclaimed the 50 SMA today, which was interesting. I look at a weekly chart. I think of Apple. You get a nice inside week. Looks good. We'll see though. Don't really see a setup again on a lot of these, right? They're just finally bouncing. Amazon is double inside day. It is building out. Could have thrown this one on the list. Might as well do it. I think Amazon looks fine, right? You get back above the 200, 2 days tight. Can we push above today's highs? We tried to push above yesterday's highs. Didn't get anywhere. So we'll see if we're going to reject the 20 day. And inside day tomorrow would be interesting for this name to just get super tight, right? And NVIDIA almost looks similar where it's just slowly building right above that 200 day. So we will have to see, right? Your SMH had a pretty weak day today. You lost the 10 day. And it's just overall, like from yesterday's action, this is not what you wanted to see, right? It was a pretty ugly day from yesterday's action, right? You had a gap down, you closed the lows. Not my favorite. Um, you know, you had MXL, which is just an inside day, but obviously this name closed pretty high up yesterday and then gapped down and then stayed heavy today. And then KLAC, another one that got hit pretty hard, right? Tried to, broke out 2 days ago, came right back in today. Not the worst look, but these things are definitely pulling back. ALAB as well, much needed. MU, of course, this one loses your 10 and 20 day. Not my favorite bar at all today. And I'll go over the DRAM stuff. And obviously you saw the Kospi gapping down the after hours. I'm pretty sure SanDisk fell into the 20 day in the boats exchange and it's getting bought up with the Kospi. Obviously that will affect your memories. Intel was another name. This is one I own. Still has an easy spot to build a higher low, but definitely was weak today. Definitely back, squatting back through the pivot. But overall, to me, I don't want to say a failed breakout, but you know, TSM, another one, just not my favorite look, right? You come into the prior highs, you know, I mean, this thing stayed up pretty well into it and then gapped down and failed today. So super interesting for sure. But SMH definitely a pretty weak day today overall. And was leading to the downside. Kospi, like I talked about, you come into the 50-day, you're bouncing in a big way, right? You look at DRAM, uh, super nasty, losing the 10-20, but we've done this before on June 5th. So can we get the gap up, which is kind of what we're seeing now? And can we get back above the 10 and 20, and then we'll see what happens from there? Or are we just going to stay heavy tomorrow or gap down tomorrow? That would be super interesting. Obviously, the Kospi is down, driven by a Samsung, right, which is gapping into the 50-day and getting bought up, and also your SK Hynix, which lost to 10 and 20. It's right under a pivot, so who knows what this one can do. Definitely going to be interesting to see how these things are acting in the morning, and how these ones close, and then how the rest of the stuff that's acting in the morning. But WDC and STX still on my list as a short, right? These names have been super weak. I don't want to be shorting them down here in the hole, but just continue to watch for a bounce to short. But like I throw up SanDisk and I flip to a weekly chart, and you just got a nice inside week. Like it's not doing anything terribly wrong. It hasn't even lost the 20-day. Yes, it was weak today after a really good day yesterday. Same thing with like everything today. But you know, you know, this thing moves 9% per day, so seeing a 10% down day, it is what it is. But the weekly chart doesn't look bad. Continue to keep on it. STX is another one where it's like this big laggard. Don't want to be shorting it down here in the hole, but I mean, if you were able to get short up here, same thing on WDC, you know, in this area, general area, whatever your setup may be, great work. And these things have definitely been lagging hard. So the second, you know, your DRAM starts to roll over, these things get hit pretty hard. While, you know, the ones that have been holding up the best, like the SanDisk, still pretty much going sideways for the last few weeks. So super interesting, right? GH, name I own. You trigger 10 ATRs from the 50-day, right? I trimmed this one today in a big way. Obviously into the 10 ATRs from the 50, you're extended. You've made a big move so far out of your base. If you're not trimming into strength, you're going to be trimming into weakness. So there's a lot of stocks that have been making big moves. Like you can look at CrowdStrike, cybersecurity, some software names have been awesome. And even like some of the semi names yesterday, right? Like they made some really nice moves over the last few days. Like if you don't trim into that strength, you will be trimming into weakness, and you will be giving back gains. So definitely want to lock in some profits. Obviously, next to GH, you have Oscar, had a really nice day today out of a nice little consolidation. Humana, another one, 10 ATRs from the 50, but just pushing higher, super strong. HNGE, Hinge, another one, new 52-week high, looks awesome. TXG, still pushing higher, right? ArcG, still pushing higher. Twist, maybe taking a little bit of, no, another new 52-week high. Obviously, your healthcare, a lot of this healthcare stuff. XLV looks fine. Obviously, like LLY, biggest holding in there. Just digesting after a nice breakout, looks completely fine, right? Just steady grind and just building inside or starting to build out, looks great, right? Your XLF had a super nice day today. You know, you can look at Robinhood getting back above the 200 after a tight day yesterday. Your IBKR, another one where you have a really big day today when the market's down. Super interesting for sure, right? Like I talked about cybersecurity. You can look at your bug, right? Another big move today. Cyber, a nice move today, right? And then obviously looking at the holdings of those, Palo Alto, one of the leaders, FTNT, one of the leaders, CrowdStrike, a name I own. You come into a left side peak, and you know, if I go to a 5-minute chart here, right, you come into that left side peak, you reject, and you kind of stay heavy. So could look at this as a double top short sale, or as a name that just is up like 4 days in a row and probably needs a few days of rest. Who knows? But you know, I can go down this list all day, right? DDOG, nice gap up, but it was red today. Okta, acting so awesome, right? But another one where it's coming to a left side peak. So you got to be trimming into supply on a lot of these names, right? You don't want to just be sitting in your position with a full size position and not take any profits, because these things will come back on you. Rubrik, another one that was fine today. But I want to say these names are starting to become extended, and I do not want to be chasing stuff like this, even though they've been super strong and showing relative strength. The setups were a week ago, right? They were on Friday, and they were on Monday. So do not chase these ones up here. Not much to do with these. If you own them, trim into strength, ride the positions, and just let them work, right? So you had some software and technology names. Nice move today, right? Reddit, cool to see it back above the 200. Twilio, another just green day today. Frog, another just, you know, inside day looks fine. I think Palantir, some dead cat bounces and absolute pieces of shit. Even though this is a good company, right? It's been a piece of shit, right? And I'm not going to go too much into these software tech names, right? Like IGV, Oracle, things like that. Stay far away from that. But some stuff that's been holding up looks nice. DOCN, not my favorite one. Just the way it's been trading, right? You could have bought the undercut and rally, and I just did not like the action today on this one. It's back below the 50. The weekly chart's not my favorite, so just keeping this one off the list for sure, right? The market's still holding up, but I just see fewer clean entries. Some cracks showing, I guess you could say, in like the semis, and breadth starting to get a little bit heavy over the last few days. Definitely don't want to force anything in this environment right now, but the QQQ is still above his 10 and 20, so I want to just remain optimistic. So that's pretty much how I feel. And I'll just go over my list here quickly. Like I said, I don't see too much I'm like super excited about, right? Your WGMI ETF. Sorry, my recap absolutely screwed up and didn't include half the stuff I wrote, so it's fine. The WGMI, right, you're back at the bottom of the range, right? You're below the 50, right? Not my favorite, right? It was a super nasty day today. It wasn't a good day on Monday, or not super nasty, but some of the names in this group were super nasty. But your WGMI, you're back at the bottom of the range, so I would expect this thing to possibly bounce tomorrow. You look at Cypher, right? You're at the 50-day. I will watch this one above the prior day high. I think it definitely could be actionable if it can push above the prior day high, right? It's just a bounce off the 50. Don't think it looks too bad, right? CRDO, super nice action. I wouldn't say super nice because your market's been pretty much sideways and trending up, and this one's got extended and kind of been cooling off. It's building some sort of a nice little flag, I guess you could say, but decent inside day today. You had a nice 2-day bounce. You get an inside day. The weekly chart looks all right. So I'm just gonna watch this one over today's highs. Dell, possibly a wick play going into tomorrow. Just gonna be watching this one for a break above Tuesday's highs are just out of this little flag it's been building. The weekly chart looks awesome. It's practically a bullish engulfing. Looks great. Looks like, to me, like a wick play. So interesting for sure. Flex, not a bad consolidation you've been building here. You flip to a weekly chart. Another one looks okay. Nice candle today off the 20-day, and it could be a spot for a higher low. So I'm just gonna watch above today's highs. Hut. Speaking of that WGMI group, right, there's absolute piece of shit like APLD. Maybe this is a spot for a undercut and rally, but it's been so weak, right? I think Iron, no, what was it? Cypher. I don't know if it was Iron or Cypher or which one it was, but one of them was down. Riot, maybe. Yeah, Riot, absolutely disgusting, right? This is horrible action. You're at the 50-day though, so I expect to bounce tomorrow, but either way, just super nasty action. So Hut, same thing as Cypher, right? You come into the 50, the rest, like a lot of the stuff in the group held towards the lows. So not a bad look right off the 50-day here. Just want to see a push above today's highs. Would probably make this weekly chart look a lot better, but this weekly chart looks fine for right now. Just would like to see it push, possibly get back above its 10 and 20, but I would like to see this thing maybe in the morning you get a little bit of a washout and then you push above the 50. That's definitely where I'll be paying attention to it. So interesting for sure. Marvell, not a good day today. You had a nice day yesterday. Same thing, semiconductors, right? They all look the same when it comes to this, but you flip to a weekly, like this thing still looks like it's building a super nice base. And it did build a higher low off the bottom of the range, off that support gap. So continue to keep an eye on this. You might get a gap up in the after hours. Who knows with how some things are acting and the cost be holding. So we'll see how these things open up tomorrow. But I think an inside day tomorrow will be interesting, or just maybe a flush down back to the bottom of the range or something. I don't know. I just don't want to break these lows. This is kind of like that line in the sand as a higher low. So we'll just continue to watch this name as it builds out. Debated putting NBIS on the list because of how weak it was today, and I did own this one yesterday and had to take a loss on this morning. In the pre-market is what it is, right? I'm not going to stress it. We did take a loss on it. I take lots of losses. In fact, the majority of my trades are losers, so it's just another day. But NBIS, right? You come into the sport cap, you come into the 50-day. That's where I'll watch for a bounce play. But if not, then nothing to do there. RXT, I still love the weekly chart, right? You get double inside week. And yes, you did reject off of pretty much yesterday's highs, but it's a super low volume bar. I just am still looking for a push out of this 3-bar range, or it's just wedging higher to just break down tomorrow. Who knows? But I still think the weekly chart looks fine. And if you get an inside day tomorrow, it's super tight. I think it would just be a super nice looking chart, right? So SanDisk, like I talked about, maybe into the 20-day, which is already pretty much doing that, but I'm just going to watch that, right? If this thing is truly going to blow off, or it's just going to build a big base here and it's just going to keep going sideways and chop around, then I don't want to be trading that, but definitely something I want to always keep an eye on. SpaceX, I've been talking about this one as a short last few days, definitely not at the bottom of the range, but as you're coming back up, super nice. You had a breach of the 10-day and then you failed back through it today. You get a bearish engulfing, super nasty. I mean, this thing looks so ugly. You look at a weekly chart, it's just not my favorite at all, right? Like this just looks so gross. I just think that, like I said yesterday, you break below the opening price and it's going to get super ugly. You had a nice resistance gap. You look at the after hour session, right? If I go to an hourly chart, right in the pre-market, you came up, you tested it, you failed, and that really marked the top. So interesting. If you were able to get that and you're a sniper in the pre-market, great work. But besides that, I think this name continues to just be a short for me, and I think it's going to break the lows of the open. But who knows? Uh, that could change in the next few days. I don't know. But STX remains a short watch. WDC remains on short watch. But not if the whole group's bouncing tomorrow and gapping up or whatever, or gapping down and holding strong into support. I don't want to be shorting these things into support. Wolf is going to be your same thing as your Cypher and your Hut, where you're just at the 50 pretty much, or you're at prior lows, you undercut it, you rally back through, you held almost to the open. So it was some relative strength compared to the rest of the group, but this group's been super weak, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it fail and just continue breaking down. But I will watch today's highs for a push through that, and then getting back above the 50 would be interesting. The weekly still looks intact. Still looks fine. Could hold the 10 week, which is obviously your 50 day. I just want to see it get back above that 50 day. Amazon, pretty much mentioned this one. I'm just going to watch the prior day high. Not too much here for me. Like I said, there won't be a video tomorrow because, there's no trading on Friday. So hope you all have a great 4th. My goal in these videos is not to just sit here and be right all the time. Just share my watch list, what I'm seeing, what I'm thinking about the market. None of this is financial advice. And I want to say I appreciate all the support over the last few days. It really means a lot to me. And I appreciate all of you that tune in. And I hope you all have a great 4th of July. Peace.